I lived in death for 10 days. As an elite athlete and member of the Australian ski team headed for the 1988 Winter Olympics in Calgary, I was on a training bike ride with my fellow teammates. As we made our way up to the beautiful Blue Mountains west of Sydney, it was the perfect autumn day, and I started pumping my legs. And as I sucked in the cold mountain air, I could feel it burning my lungs. I looked up to see the sun shining in my face. And then everything went black. Where was I? What was happening? My body was consumed by pain. I'd been hit by a speeding truck with only 10 minutes to go on the bike ride. I'd broken my neck and my back in 6 places. I broke 5 ribs on my left side. My whole right side was ripped open and filled with gravel. My head was cut open across the front, lifted back, exposing the skull underneath. I had head injuries, I had internal injuries, and I had massive blood loss. For 10 days, I drifted between 2 dimensions. After 10 days, and for reasons that I'm still not entirely clear about, I made the choice to return to my body. And when I did, the massive internal bleeding miraculously stopped. I woke up in intensive care to the news that the operation had been a success, because at that point I had a little bit of movement in one of my big toes, and I thought, great, because I'm going to the Olympics. But then the doctor came over and said to me, matter-of-factly, Janine, the operation was a success, but the damage is permanent. Their central nervous system knows and there is no cure. So although we think you may get some feeling back from the waist down, maybe 10, 20% at the most, you will have internal injuries for the rest of your life. And then I remember her saying to me, you're going to have to rethink everything you do in your life because you are never going to be able to do the things you did before. I was an athlete. My body was everything. If I couldn't do that, if I wasn't that, then who was I? After almost 6 months, it was time to leave the spinal ward. But the head nurse at the hospital had said, Janine, I want you to be ready because when you get home, something's going to happen. I said, what? She said, you're going to get depressed. I said, not me, not Janine the machine. She said, it happens to everybody. Be prepared. So I got home and I realized she was right. I was in a wheelchair, a plaster body cast, attached to a catheter bottle. I had no feeling from the waist down. I wanted my life back. I wanted to put my running shoes on and run out the door. But I couldn't. And I got depressed. There were days when I didn't want to get out of bed and days when I didn't get out of bed. And I can remember my mum sitting on the bed and we were both crying and she said, I wonder if life will ever be good again. And I thought, how could it? Because I've lost everything that I valued. At home, sitting outside in my plaster body cast, an aeroplane flew over my house. And in that moment, my eyes and my mind were open. And I looked up and I thought, well, that's it. If I can't walk, then I might as well fly. So weeks later, my mum and my friend Chris, they bought me a pair of baggy overalls and they drove me to the local airport, Bankstown Airport, and they carried me in. And I held on to the counter because I couldn't even stand on my own. My plaster cast was sticking out. I said, I'm here for my flying lesson. And they ran out the back to draw short straws. Oh my God. And this guy came out, Andrew. He said, hi, I'm going to take you flying. I said, great. So they put me in the car and they drove me down to the tarmac. And there on the tarmac was a red, white and blue aeroplane. I'd never seen anything so beautiful before. They lifted me up into the aircraft. They put me in the front seat. He got a clearance from the tower and he took off down the runway. And as the wheels lifted off the runway, I felt the most incredible sense of freedom. And then as we flew over the training area at Bankstown Airport, Andrew said to me, he said, right, you see those mountains over there? And I said, yes. as I looked towards the Blue Mountains west of Sydney, where my journey had begun. And he said, you take the controls and you head towards those mountains. And I did. And I was flying. And I knew right then that I was going to be a pilot. I didn't know how on earth I'd ever pass a medical, but that didn't matter because I had a dream and nothing was going to stop me. But there was something inside of me that was burning so bright that said, don't stop. And eventually, I learned to fly. I went for my first solo and I got my private pilot's license. Oh, I was so proud. And then I learned to navigate. I flew around Australia and I got my unrestricted private pilot's license. And then I learned to fly in bad weather as well as fine weather, and I got my instrument rating. And then I went on and I learned to fly an aeroplane with 2 engines as well as 1 engine. And then I got my commercial pilot's license. And then I got my instructor rating. And then I found myself at that same school where I'd gone for that very first flight, teaching other people how to fly. In just over 12 months after I'd left the spinal ward. Our bodies may be limited, but it's our spirit that's unstoppable. I now know that my real strength never came from my body. Unlike anything you can lose in life, jobs, relationships, finances, the defiant human spirit remains steadfast. And of this I'm certain. I am not my body. And you, my dear friends, are not yours. When you choose courage in the face of fear, you defy the things that hold you back from greatness. It's a daunting task. And you might well ask, where do I begin? Where do I start? Well, perhaps the simple words of this poem might offer a clue. He said to build a better world. I said I would, but how? The world is such a cold, dark place and complicated now. For I am small and helpless. There's nothing I can do. He said, of course there is. Just build a better you. Thank you.